So I've always wanted to do that flight, never yet, but and won't then either.
Business class would be nice. I've only ever flown business class once.
Same. Only to Australia.
Business class. So you just don't fly very often, but when you do, you go business.
That's the way to do it.
It's track, Marianne.
I go heaps and just kettle it.
We have that just live and stuff. All right. Okay, so we are now live for this information session today on the 21st of July. So first up, we have apologies, and we have apologies from James Goff and Sam McDonald and Linda Chen. And everyone else is present or online, with David being online. So our information session today is the Johns Road, Northwood Boulevard link and Johns Road scheme plans. So team, who's talking to that today? We have Peter.
This is me, and Winky Chen.
Okay.
Which
You're still with us.
Yeah, definitely will be the last one.
They all say that.
The floor is yours, team.
yeah, so I mean, essentially with Johns Road and Northwood Boulevard, I suppose the brief history of that is that there had been a project for constructing a road length, and council bought up the land, which is part of the blue highlighted bit there. In anticipation of doing that, it doesn't have enough money to actually deliver it in the long-term plan. It'll need probably a couple million.
Yep.
And we've got an opportunity here with this subdivision to enter into agreement with the developer with a land swap to make a road link through to Johns Road. Johns Road being ex-state highway now. Council took ownership of it, where it was handed over to council last year, and is also a developing area with the Northwest Belfast area, subdivision area, really starting to make a bit of progress in the last year or two, I guess. Yeah. So we've had a look at, done some modelling, had a consultant do some modelling to anticipate how these intersections will perform. They found it would perform fine with no major traffic impacts, regardless of whether it was roundabout signals or a T intersection as is the one shown there. Yeah, and that's overall. We had a safe system assessment done of the three options, found that of the three options of actually doing something, because there's actually a fourth option, and that is not to do anything, of course.
Yep.
It's always an option. The roundabout would probably have the safest safety performance, and that's largely due to the fact that it reduces the speeds of impacts. Yeah, so we've been to the internal transport steering group, and the decision there was that we would, because this impacts upon the Northwood Boulevard intersection project, which is in the LTP, albeit with not enough money.
Yep.
And we'd take it to council to make a decision on that, because it impacts upon the LTP. So we're here to brief the board to get the board's views on it before we go to council, and also so that the councillors in the area are aware of it before it goes to council.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
And I give you the background of the plan change that have been happening for 20 years in the making. Yeah, that was well before the Northern Corridor was carried out. So it's purely on the state highway corridor, and there is no, until it become a local road, then we can make a substantial changes to the way we operate for Johns Road. So the sub might pay to get the overall plan of Johns Road corridor.
Yeah, that was in the fourth attachment.
Yeah.
And the others, yeah. Oh, that's it, yeah.
Yeah, you look at the whole corridor, the only connection from north and south will be by way of a roundabout at intersection. But that one there, with the NCR, everything have changes. The volume of traffic have dropped significantly. It's around about 8,000 at the moment.
I was wondering about 5,000
5,000,
on this
yeah.
bit. It's slightly higher on the other
Yeah.
end, but
Yeah, admittedly, it was surprising that the speed haven't gone up much. Around that one, it's around about below 70. So that's good. And then through the subdivision approval of the northern side, we expect T intersection coming up from the north to south. So when the intersection come out, will be condition for the developers to provide the pedestrian linkage across the road, because you have to remember the school is starting to enroll quite a lot of students in the next few years.
Yeah.
Because it's joint school with Belfast. And at the moment, currently, the only access onto there is by driving. So we have to make that one safe corridor for those pedestrian movement. And also some of the one part of the subdivision of Waimāero is currently we're in discussion. We will allow them to have a direct access onto John's Road. So that will be form some sort of conflicts. So they will enable the traffic to perform around about 50, might be 50 to 60. That is the intention to the whole lot. And also advantage for this intersection also allow the southern part of the existing dwelling, so they have more access onto there rather than running all the place and then come out to the two intersection that currently they have. So that is advantage overall for the network for the southern side of the corridor long term.
guess we'll go to questions.
Yeah, so being mine and Aaron's neck of the woods, we might start. So personally, I look at it and I go, that roundabout kind of situation with the road layout makes perfect sense. And I would be, the one on slide 9 that was like that wee janky wee T intersection thing there doesn't make sense. The roundabout bit kind of does. But this is my personal, I would say personally, that makes sense, and or that other option where you had the North Water Drive linking up makes sense. But the grand but is that this came up in the local residents Facebook page, which is reasonably active, a couple of months ago, and I put a poll up there and got about 250 responses with the 70, and the response rate was that 75% of them wouldn't want that connection put in there, because and most of it I imagine would stem that the further away you get from the houses on the north end of the boulevard, the probably less people care about it. But the people on the north end of the boulevard don't want that opened up. And you're going to have a real fight on your hands if you try and go ahead and do that without the community support. It's a very engaged community. And that's the biggest headache you're going to have there, is because at the bottom end of the boulevard, none of the houses open onto the boulevard. They're all opening from the side streets. It's all back facing, so there's no entrances really onto the streets of the boulevard until you get to what's the one that goes around to Inglefield Road. I can't remember that Springwater Ave. Is that Springwater Ave? Yeah, so from about Springwater Ave north, that it's kind of just houses open up, and yeah, the people in that area are going to be a little bit frosty, to put it lightly to that. I'm not sure if Aaron would probably echo that sentiment. Yeah, so that's probably from where things are at now. If that we had to go out to consultation, or whether it was just going to council, I would have to, I guess, go to consultation at some point.
Does this go to consultation?
I don't know, would it?
I don't know if it does.
I don't think so,
would
because it's a resource consent issue. That
It's already consented.
Why not yet?
Yeah.
Is
I
that-
thought the old road was.
Uh,
That's why we own the land.
No, the old road, that one, that we bought the land in anticipation, because you have to remember, it was the state highway when we bought
Yeah.
it. So actually, the roundabout design was done. I stopped it because we haven't got any funding. So that would going back for quite some time already on that one. The SATA already done all the engineering work. And when I said, are you paying for it? If you're paying for it, it's fine, but not when the council paying for it.
Yeah.
And that was a discussion at that time. That was well before NCR.
Yep.
Well, let's save the $2 million and spend it on Belfast Road.
Well, yeah. So on this, so this is the one that you're now recommending to go ahead versus the roundabout.
Yeah.
To be honest, from a design perspective, I actually like this better than the roundabout.
Well, it connects up that other road as well. Like it would be fine from a design perspective.
Yeah.
But
But it won't get the run through that a roundabout would. So did you guys model that if there was a roundabout connection like a main road, you'd have a lot more traffic go through here than if you have the dog leg like you do?
They take that into account in the model, but they found that the modelled volumes going into Northwood Boulevard around there are not particularly high going in, regardless of which one. Like it's not going to be the busiest section of the city. Is what the modelling.
So my question is, when you get to this design here, who now pays? Like, there's still a bill for the council, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. Yeah. At the moment, currently, I'm negotiating with them which part is council, and which part is theirs.
So my question would be from the stingy council member is, do we own this pit here, don't we, or do we own just that one?
We own the whole lot, including the blue. So the blue is shown in lots because that's part of what we would be swapping to the developer that they could then develop.
Right, and then we get, so that then offsets the cost of what we would pay into this. Is that how we do it?
Not quite, because the physical work that we will pay for the link to the subdivision, and also the modification what is required for John's Road, because John's Road is the configuration for the footpath need to be connected somehow. So there is a fair bit of work on the drainage work.
So what about if you use this piece of land as well?
Yeah,
Throw that out.
that will be maintained as a footpath because we already got the infrastructure in there.
There's no footpath in here.
So it will be
gravel path.
looking in terms of footpath along there.
So, but if you use this bit of land into the thing, could you reduce the cost of the ratepayer? So this would, otherwise we're going to pay 300,000 for
not,
that as
because
well.
we got a water supply system across.
An easement.
Is already there. So there is an infrastructure issue that will.
Okay, because otherwise,
They'd get another lot.
because it's got all big trees in that, it'd just be, it would cost us 300,000 to put the path through and finish the landscaping, and then we'll have to pay to maintain it again as well. Whereas I thought if we got rid of it,
I love to, but a bit because the water supply already occupied the area.
right.
So we can't virtually discharge of it because of the services around it. The land value is just about a direct swap, but it's a physical area that we have to physical construction of the driveway that the council have to fund.
So I think this will sell really quickly because it's the Northwood side versus the
Estimate around about 150 grand for the council contribution for that link through.
right. And then, because then we'll collect 3 to 5 million in DCs off that lot there, and then $1 million a year in rates. So
The rates is more attractive.
yeah, well, that little block there's $1 million a year in rates because you've got 20 odd sections. Yeah.
And then also allows the people instead of loading.
Oh, sorry, 100,000 a year. Sorry.
Instead of loading the other network, got the opportunity for the kids to go to school too.
yeah, whether we can, let me start again. It'd be really good to understand with absolute clarity what the process is for the approval for this, to be able to share with the community, because if it doesn't require any community consultation and this just gets done to the Northwood community, you're gonna piss a lot of people off.
The only approval we require because it's a road stopping involved and also the land swap.
Yeah.
Yeah. The land swap because it's quite a big piece of land, so we thought they would better to relinquish the staff delegation back to the community board so everybody understand what is it for.
So there'd be consultation in relation to the land swap, is that right?
There's no control, but we did have agreement from the board.
Right, okay.
Yeah, for the land swap to happen.
Decision.
So how come it doesn't trigger the need for community consultation?
Might be a question for.
This is what we need to know.
Yeah,
The reason for that, because the resource consent don't require. And the resource consent doesn't take ownership into account.
so someone could apply for a resource consent that just does this without the
Yeah.
ownership of the land's approval. They would need the ownership of, they need the owner's approval in order to actually give effect to it. But you know, someone could apply for a resource consent to build a road over, you know, my house, your house, whatever. But they couldn't build the road until they got your approval as the landowner, if that makes sense.
Until you sold them the land.
Yeah, if you sell the land, of course, that they own it, but yeah.
So you're saying, so
And I
without,
guess also would that road be anticipated in the district plan? That connection?
I thought it was.
Yeah,
I don't
all the legal
know.
road that is for will be vested in council, anyway, yeah.
I don't know that it's specifically that connection to North Johns Road is specifically, it's not in an outline development plan
No.
in the district plan.
No.
So I don't think it's actually written down anywhere that, you know,
But did it not show as a paper road?
it would show as council owned.
Yeah.
It wouldn't show as a paper road because it's not vested in council as a legal road, but it's a council owned bit of land intended for roading, which is just one step below being vested as road.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
Because some people over the years have always asked, when's that being connected?
yeah, I think
Because
they'll.
You ask people directly, some say we don't want it connected.
I think it'll definitely be, there'll be.
Because it's a road that goes around and stops, it doesn't finish. I mean, it feels like it was always meant to carry on, but
It's not much of a stretch to imagine that it would continue.
why wasn't it, again, I'm not sure if you may have answered this already, why wasn't it connected in the beginning when the road was built?
The reason why, because the original ODP for Northwood didn't have that connection at all. The staff looking at it for to protect that corridor to be built at some stage, because it's still state highway, to get a connection.
Because it was opening onto State Highway, was that one of the main drivers?
Yeah,
It makes the connections a lot harder to make, and they're stricter with the connections to the state highway. Yeah.
Was it always projected that Johns Road would eventually just become a local road? It wasn't until that motorway bypass got proposed that option opened up,
Yeah.
right?
I think it's always anticipated, but the timing is not there, just because of the earthquake, everything's moved forward.
Yeah.
Because I remember the corridor was planned in 1965, back on Johns Road.
the western bypass or the
The
Johns
western
Road?
bypass came in later on.
Yeah, it was a lot later. Yeah, I thought
Later
Northwood
on.
was built.
The
before
original
Northwood.
Johns Road was
System.
65.
So we've got a question from David online there, just noticed him hiding up in the corner. Dave, go for it, mate.
Thank you. Look, two questions. On Google Maps, it has if we take Northwood Boulevard all the way up to Johns Road, the building on the left-hand side, it's not in your maps, but on Google Maps, that building there is a kindergarten. So if you're talking about consultation, we're probably into a hiding for nothing, given that that's going to increase the traffic flow outside their door.
Yeah, there would be a significant increase in traffic past the entry and exit of that early childhood
Yeah.
centre, yes.
And then the second one, if you went to the first option, which was through the part and then goes out onto Johns Road through what would be the other part of the intersection or the other part of the landmass, that's a left and right if I saw it in the map correctly, the design looks like it's you know, in and out, but yet would there be enough waiting space on the other side of the road for a car that's heading north to wait in the median to turn right into that? Should it just be potentially an exit, not an entry?
They'll be able to turn left in, they'll be able to right turn in and out, yeah. The plan that we've got on the screen now has got an island in the middle there. We're thinking
Yep.
we can probably just shift that to the other side of the intersection, would provide more room for that right turning bay there.
Okay,
If we did go with this option.
cool.
This might be a really silly question, and I'm sorry if I didn't catch this, but the different options that you've got, right? Is you've got the you've got this, what do you call it, the dog leg? So they're calling it?
T.
Two T intersection, and then you've got your roundabout, and then you have the intersection, right?
Traffic signals.
The traffic signals. So the one with the T intersection, that development that's going on, right, where you've got all the different lots there, is that development going to happen regardless of what option we choose? Or is it only going to happen with this T intersection?
Yes, it'll happen. If we get council approval to go to make it with the T intersection as we got on screen there, and go ahead with the land swap, then the development would happen more or less as on there. If we did not, then the option to do it through that land would be gone.
But the development's still
The
happening.
development would still happen. They'd rearrange it a bit. There'd be a different arrangement of lots, maybe less lots, maybe smaller, who knows. They would do it as a cul-de-sac, I think is their preference. And the cul-de-sac would have a pedestrian link through onto, probably onto Northwood Boulevard, I think.
Yeah.
But that's, you know, that it would have a pedestrian link at the least. But it would still happen as a development, so the houses would still get built. It's just there would be no linking Johns Road to Northwood Boulevard if the development went ahead without the land swap. So I guess what we're trying to get a feel for today is from the board, is there much desire to go ahead with doing this through the resource consent? And I suppose the thing to note about the resource consent is it's this might be going into more into the planner's realm, but I think it is a non-notified resource consent, which means that there would not be any public input into that. So that does risk that it's almost once we start going down that road, if we are going to go down that route, it's hard not to continue.
Hard to, are you saying it would be hard to involve the community?
There would be, obstacles to, well, it'll be hard for the community to make like if the developers have been given a resource consent that does this, the community cannot directly change their resource consent.
So all you end up doing is you might get 30 people send in strong things saying, oh, we don't want our neighbourhood opened up. So they feel like they've got a say and they don't actually have a say. So you've kind of misled them in a way.
There's a problem with getting actual genuine engagement with the community and actual genuine input, and that they can't genuinely input they can't impact a non-notified resource consent. And I think that that's always been an issue with that some reasons.
Surprised it's non-notified.
The whole consenting process, but that is how the RMA works. And
As one of the community board representatives for that area, I couldn't say without canvassing the community far more broadly than I have already that it would be very divisive and deeply unpopular. And I'd be surprised if it wasn't, especially if the council just went ahead and took actions which allowed us to go ahead with through a process which is completely legal and fair, but doesn't involve any community consultation in the plan. So if we started a step down a road which allowed something like that to happen, it would be deeply unpopular with the community. Alternatives where you have a potential for a cul-de-sac in that development, which doesn't link the road up to John's Road, potentially, well, clearly that would be I would guess would be the more popular option. I'm not saying that either of those options make sense from a road layout perspective, but in terms of the community impact and what they want, I'd say that that's probably where you're gonna see. So that would be, yeah, without obviously doing a proper canvassing of the broader Northwood community, I'd say it wouldn't be far off that. Yeah, go for it.
So let's just say that you if you went for the T intersection option, and yeah, appreciate what you're saying, you wouldn't be able to involve legally, there wouldn't be much reason, there wouldn't be much for the community to stand on legally for them to have input. Well, what's to say if we wanted to keep that option is still available, but to involve the community, you could still put this option to the side, explore the other two options, so then there's still community involvement, still have this option here, and then if you've got feedback from the community, you could go with this option. Do you follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think that there is an issue that because we need to give the developers certainty, we
Right.
just can't give them too long. Yeah, because they will push
go straight
on
to the government.
legally can do this. Like go on, and then we lost all the opportunity of an improved network between the north and the south. Because you have to remember, there's not many direct access for a block. I just keep on counting around about 50 to 60 dwelling, had to back all the way back and then come up to the existing two intersection. One in Rowan Street will be the nearest. So we have to look into the sustainability of the transport system.
Yeah, yeah.
If anything happen, the network, then there will be possibly go to the staff, why allow the development to happen? Because you have to remember that you need to give choices, and also in case of emergency and all these things to link through. Because at the moment is the opportunity there for the existing people south of John's Road.
Yeah.
So if the board and if the council, when we go to the council with this, chose not to go ahead with a land swap and that would rule out the staggered T intersection set layout. And if then Northwood, the subdivision would develop as a cul-de-sac, it wouldn't prohibit the council from making that link through to John's Road, but it would mean could only be through a roundabout or signalised intersection.
Cost the rate.
And which would mean also more money in the LTP, which it hasn't got any now, and it would need another few million, and we're not doing an awful lot of these brand new intersections like this. And yeah, there's not great prospects for a good case for it in the LTP. It could still, it's not impossible, nothing's impossible, but yeah, it just costs more.
Yeah.
Okay.
That becomes the problem, isn't it? And then how do we as a board say to the people down the road, like Belfast Road, which needs an upgrade, needs a couple of $1 million, we'll do that intersection rather than the T one. And I think if we do a roundabout or traffic lights, you'll actually get more traffic flow through there. So it's kind of counter to what a number of, I think that T like that will have the least amount of impact on the area.
It would be somewhat limiting. Yeah, well, yeah, intuitively it would feel that way.
And then when you think about, because we have quite a high number of people here that work in the airport precinct, in this area, that using that, if you live there or there, to access and go to the work to the airport, and then when you come home, you're back in there. I think it makes practical sense. My youngest went to that preschool. And they kept asking, when are you gonna open it up to the road? Because the parents come in the other way, there's a wrap run route through here that you can do where you can drive in here into the car park, there's a hole in the fence, and then you drive out on the gravel.
I don't think that whole there anymore, is it?
Yeah, they probably closed it up, but
I think that people do too.
yeah, there's a bit of that. So there is a desire line from people, but that's a kind of a tight corner. I just can't see them getting speed up. I'm wondering if one of the payoffs to this community, if it goes ahead, is that we actually bring the speed down on Johns Road. A couple of residents have asked.
I think John's Road eventually would drop at currently 70k.
70.
We request them to drop to 60 when they're still SATA, but there is no appetite for
Yeah,
it.
but it's now our road, isn't it?
It's now our road.
So can we go to 60?
I think most of it, we already request either 60 first and then.
Yeah, we have
Ultimately,
discussed
50
this with
anyway.
the staff and the staff
Yeah.
involved in the speed limit change, and yes, with.
Because that's another way that we can kind of say to this neighbourhood is, yeah, we're putting through this connection, but we're also going to make it safer by reducing the speed along there.
So the speed limit change needs to follow the change in environment from the development. So this development plus other developments further on down Johns Road that are in the process of also being consented. They will all work towards changing Johns Road from the appearance of a rural on one side state highway to just an urban connector road.
I think just looking at the forecast, likelihood the subdivision will be carried out in the next 2 years from the private drive east join up with the current development here. So the whole frontage will be developed all around the.
Jason's right though, there is such a mix of views down here on this.
So the final decision for the land swap, is that a part A, or does that go straight to full council, does it? Or is that where that decision will be made?
Yeah, we're gonna take that straight to council.
What, do we have timeframes on when this would be going to council? Obviously based off the board's feedback on what you guys just decided to do, knowing.
Meetings.
Next month.
All the next
No,
one
not
need to be.
The first one is, I think, the deadline for that, agenda deadlines for that's tomorrow. So I don't think it'll make the 6th of August meeting. But
Smack bang right before the elections.
and if council decides not to go ahead with it, then so there's almost two decisions to make.
Yeah.
Is to go ahead with a land swap, which would
Facilitate the double T
section. And there's a second decision if they don't go ahead with the land swap, which is almost it'll be the next council's decision to make in the LTP, whether to put another couple of million for that roundabout or signals.
And then if there was funding in the LTP for that, that still wouldn't, then it would just become a feedback on the LTP itself around that funding allocation, not around the decision to actually do the piece of work. Or because the LTP funding would require, well, we go for consult on the LTP, right?
Yes.
So if there was a lot of feedback to suggest that they didn't want.
You're looking at the LCP process. From the staff point of view, I don't think we'll meet the first 5 years.
Yeah.
We'll be at least 10 years away. So I'll be aware of that one day because it's quite
There's too many other priorities ahead of it to spend a couple of $1 million on.
because it's new work. It's not upgrading of an intersection.
Again, there's the opportunity cost between doing the land swap and getting the developer to pay for a bunch of it versus us paying for it 10 years down the track. And when's it,
And the other opportunity is to make that link to Johns Road now, rather than 10 years down the track. Yeah.
So then one of the questions to the community would be, or from that community would be, if you don't do the land swap, is there a chance we don't do the connection to Johns Road?
Yep, absolutely there is. So there's absolutely a possibility that council either actively decides not to pursue the roundabout or just decides it can't afford to do the roundabout right now in the next LTP. That's entirely a possibility. So that would get the outcome that some of those Northwood Boulevard residents are seeking and having no connection, and that's simply just to not do anything, really. And that's an option as well. Do nothing is always an option.
That would be a council decision though.
Yeah. I suppose another factor is that if this staggered T intersection does proceed, how the intersection interacts with Johns Road, like that, the detail of that intersection, that would be coming to the board, but there's only really limited ways to design a T intersection like that. I suppose like there wouldn't be, I mean, it could be made left in, left out, for what that might achieve, but
Tough right
it
hand
wouldn't really do
No.
much. So yeah,
It's left and left out. All you do is when people come back from work that way, they're gonna go up and then do a U-turn and come back.
Yeah.
It's the problem we've created on Martin
Yeah.
Road outside McDonald's.
Yeah, because you
Let
got
it
to
turn
wide
right,
out.
so people go out and then do a U-turn in front of all the traffic, because they're going north.
John's Road is quite wide road, so it is a person just might do stupid things, and then the council got to blame.
So the modelling you've done so far doesn't show like at any times of day necessarily, and you might not be able to answer this now, any times of day like a backing up of the traffic coming off of the Groins Drive onto Johns Road, backing up to turn right into the T. I guess there's not going to be that much traffic coming in the other direction, is there? So you're not really going to have any backing up traffic necessarily. Because it feels like that would, if it was a busy road, you'd have that possibility. But
yeah. Well, it's because what is it? West of this location, the only traffic coming from that direction is coming off the access road.
That campground
the
thing.
campground,
So yeah, there's the
there's no
campground.
off ramp from the motorway there.
No.
Yes, not much.
What the some of the lands that you can see in the corner, I think it's zoned commercial,
Yeah, it is a
and
commercial.
so it will
Yeah,
potentially develop as a small commercial area in the future. But
Maybe a dozen employees or something though.
we haven't. Yeah,
we haven't gone drill down because there is an area that most of people will introduce on Central Island to slow down the traffic. There's a west of the Groins intersection. You got a hotel there, and then next to it is empty plot, which NZTA just recently sold the surplus land they own for roading.
Oh, is it sold now? Won't be getting it.
So we're expecting them to come in possibly in the next few months, but we have a clear idea what they need to do for the road. Because
Did they say what's going in there?
Say that they just request the access. How are they going to service the road?
Well, I guess just moving the conversation forward, I guess from our perspective, what we would like for our community is just I'd like a very clear outline of the timelines that you guys might be working to, who has to make the decisions, based off of what decisions are made, what kind of consultation is required or not required. So regardless of whether the community has the ability to provide any input or not, they know what the process looks like and it's transparent, and they don't feel surprised by something coming up on them that they didn't know they weren't going to have any ability to consult on. At an absolute minimum, I'd like us to have that information, even though they might not like it, they still have the information. And then I guess it'll be a decision for the councillors to decide what they think's best from that perspective.
I think from the point of moving the resource consent forward is a land exchange.
Yep.
And then the design is just about fix really. We can put that at the changes on the road or what you expect on the road.
So if you know we think that we agree to do the swapping of the land, is it set that we take this particular intersection? Is it, we don't do the roundabout, or what happens, who decides that?
Yeah, we wouldn't do the roundabout.
Wouldn't do the roundabout if we were doing this, and so if you thought this is the best option to go ahead with it, we definitely do the T intersection.
I think
If
that
that- and that's-
the landslide happens, the best
Yeah.
option for council will be
Yeah.
done to council as a part A would be.
It's gone.
And they're not gonna no one would change that and say, oh, no, we can do that roundabout.
No, because the funding
Is,
is contingent and.
Yep.
So you're doing a report to council for their second meeting in August.
Not confirmed yet,
But
but yeah.
and as part of that report, you would like to be able to include what the board think,
Yeah.
but we're not kind
We're
of
not.
at that point to be thinking anything in particular, is that the?
Well, I don't think, we're missing two of our councillors as well, from this meeting. I have a strong view on what I think the communities in Northwood's view would be, but obviously that's only part of that's only one group of stakeholders around the table.
I think that's definitely something we'd need to include in the info to the council.
Yep.
Yeah, and also to, like, as you mentioned, to outline exactly what the timelines and the community would be.
Just to clarify, if we go, actually, no, we don't want to do the land swap. We've heard from a bunch of residents that don't want us to open up that end of the road. What does it look like? What does the developer do who's got all of that land there at that point?
All right, I'll just come up with
Can you turn the lights off at the back because I can't see the screen?
Their intentions, planning, do that.
Yep.
They'd essentially bring this road through here and form a cul-de-sac around there.
With no entry onto John's Road.
Yeah, so they'd link it on.
No entry, yeah.
Yep. Form a cul-de-sac somewhere around here, pedestrian link through here, and then form a path.
Yeah.
Connecting around these through this park area there.
Yep.
And then it'll be up to council to at some point later do that.
So then, just for the people that live that side, the
Yeah.
20 properties, all the vehicles for the 20 properties will come through North Water Drive.
Yeah.
To there every day
Yep, that's right.
versus going the other way. Right.
Yep.
So that,
Yeah, so that cul-de-sac, if they did it as a cul-de-sac, that would make North Water Drive a busier road. It would help in some ways in that they'd actually have a proper cul-de-sac turning head.
So the dead.
Which would certainly help with the council's rubbish collection. Ends in a stub. Although there's only a limited number of houses that would need to be connected.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
thanks for that.
yeah, so, yeah, because I think you get two different pictures. If you live that side,
Yeah,
you're gonna end up with a cul-de-sac, but you'll have all the traffic coming that way, doing that in and out all the time.
yeah.
And if you live that side, you'll get the traffic going into here, but you'll also get others come through, and yeah, it's interesting.
Another thing is that this lot of land, they could, as of right now, they could just go and do that cul-de-sac. And they would just get a resource consent for
Yep.
that, subject to all of the other
Right.
requirements. of
So
it, but-
nothing can stop them from doing that cul-de-sac and that subdivision.
Develop, nothing can really stop them from developing the land. It's just the form of how they develop it that is up for
And
discussion here.
Just for clarity, because I know it's quite illegal, but can they do that without us doing the land swap?
Yeah, there are also sections that wouldn't do it.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, they'd lose a section through there, but it gives access to there still, so they'd have to have a driveway in there, which would be half that amount of land.
And you end up with some legal issues that they are bringing in general public over the.
So then the next one would be, and this would be a legal question, would be if they kind of go, well, this design here creates the most houses out of this lot of land, but by not having that, it means it reduces the number. Can they then take that to court and say the council's not, because they get this by right, but can they not get that by right, or they can?
if there's a willingness for them to do, we won't be presenting this to you people, yeah, because every development is looking at the yield and how much profit they are going to
Yeah,
make.
of course.
Yeah, that is a fundamental things. So when we negotiated land, in my experience over the last 30 odd years, is always the tenants make sure the lot is not reduced. I vaguely remember one of my earlier project, we had to buy the land to stop them from developing that area.
Yeah, well, we also, as a council, have a directive from government to make sure there is the most amount of properties going in the smallest amount of area. Like, they get really annoyed when you block anything and that's pretty much all parties are about. Well, the further left you go, the more intensification they want. So oddly, they support that even more than the right. They're happy for bigger sections.
And from the network point of view, it does, as I originally stated, it improves the connectivity on the south side to the north.
Right.
Because at the moment, everybody had to go back to the which is Springbank.
Yeah.
All the way back, get out.
And do emergency services get a say? Does that change any of their timelines or not really at all?
This one here will improve it.
Improves it.
It will definitely improve it anyway, because after the earthquake, on the old subdivision, we're very aware of it, particularly in the hill section.
Yeah, right. But our fire service now is at the tail end of this, so they would not come from there, they would come from here.
It would most probably reduce, it all depending on what's happening.
Yeah. So Marianne, can we do a soft consultation as a board with that area or not? It's not a binding consultation, it's just the pros and cons are this. Do you know what I mean?
I guess time is of the essence, and we wouldn't want to do anything until we've got that information that you wanted in terms of the timeframes, what the opportunity for the community to have an input is. You don't want to raise expectations.
That's my point
By
earlier.
saying to them, tell us what you think, and 90% of them come back and go, we don't want it, but it's going to happen anyway, then you're only getting yourselves into
Digging a hole,
difficult.
but
I would word it in that way, there is an opportunity, allow this project to go ahead, to give the opportunity more the positive spin. There is definitely an advantage for those people east of the intersection to create a more ease of transport, so you don't have to double back. This one here, actually from the northwood lane is no change. It's only allow additional facilities for them to get into the subdivision.
And I think having some information on the modelling, because I would say out of the 75% of people that said we don't want it, a large percentage of that would be because they're assuming that it's going to become a really busy thoroughfare. And if there's some modelling to show that that's not what we think is going to happen, that might be useful information to include. But I think we'd have to have a chat with the engagement team, because I don't think it would meet their threshold of doing. And it is, again, that what would be the point of that if they at the end of the day they don't have any say?
Transparency.
Well, ask the community at a time when they could influence it.
Yeah.
Which means before it goes to council, really, and which
Yeah.
means before the developer stops waiting.
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, the decision from the timeline, to have a conversation with them, if we don't give a decision back to them by the end of next month, I think they will just bowl ahead and do what they think to call this out, and we just lost the opportunity.
Time to do before the end of each month.
Yeah, I think that is a critical part. I
As the time's short, but
think.
we could look into that.
there's also a commercial zoning straight above here
Yeah,
that was meant to, but that whole thing took too long. So that patch there where it says Road 3,
Yes,
that
that's right.
block there is for a block of
Local shop.
local shops. So you might have like a Robbie's and a hair salon and a bakery or something go in there. So that's what that's for. Bring back Raywood Fresh.
It's a tricky one, isn't it? It really is, because I mean, at the end of the day, if it's a non-notified consent and we agree to the land swap, they can do whatever they like regardless of what the community say. So it's there,
So the
like I
land
said,
swap-
raising expectations that
The land
they
swap-
think it's gonna have an impact.
So does then this become more about a communication issue and the way we communicate this and say, hey, look, legally, this can happen. This is what the plan looks like. If you have overwhelming reasons why this shouldn't go ahead, let us know. If it's just that you don't want your street to be any busier. But if 90% come back and say that, that would potentially affect my vote at council as well.
But you would want that information back before the council vote whether to do the land swap or not, and that's the time constraints really, isn't it?
If you can get onto Facebook, it will happen very soon. Yeah, because you don't need to deliver things because it's not a formal consultation.
No, once again, it comes down to you don't want to set expectations because it's not a formal consultation. It can't. I'm gonna say it can't stop it. But
Yeah, will it be another council asked us what we thought we didn't, and we said this and they went the other
did
way.
their own thing.
Well, you don't ask them what they think, you tell them what's happening and tell them what the options are.
But then if that community's overwhelmingly against, and we don't know because we haven't seen enough, but there are some that are quite passionately against this public. But then there's some that are quite passionately for because they live there and they drive a long way to get to some, do you know what I mean? So it's a. Oof.
So when you did the poll, what level of information did they have at that point?
No, it was just someone asking about when are they going to connect the boulevard to
So it
Johns
was
Road.
just purely.
It was just what would that look
linking
like?
It's been around as a conversation because the road stops and there's another road there. So it looks like it's meant to join.
So it was literally if council was going to connect Northwood Boulevard to Johns Road, would you be in favour of opening that up or not? And it was a very simple question.
And the responses are chalk and cheese. Because the first time I ever heard of it, and I went and had a look, a resident at one of the association meetings years ago, the first one I ever went to, at the AGM, come up and said, oh, when are you opening up thing? And I'm like, are we? And they said, yeah, it finishes there, and gave a look, and I had a good look, and I'm like, of course, it looks like it's meant to. But then asking others through the Residents Association, like, no, we don't want that. That's the feedback we've had. And I'm like, flip, this is chalk and cheese.
Okay. Oh well, I think we. Any more questions? I think we.
David's got one.
David. Yeah, go for it, mate.
So we're talking about time pressures to get to council. How long have we actually been chatting to the landlord or the landowner? I mean, is this recent conversations or have we been in dialogue for a while? And if we need to ask them to wait, how hard is that?
Yeah, I can answer that question. This development came in end of March. They come in with that one. I said, no, we have to change it to allow this to happen. So that there is a time when we start conversation. That time they haven't bought the land. So they gave me a timeline. The process date is on July. So they only got it. But this one here is quite a simple subdivision. They're likely to be delivered by the end of the year, or the latest will be February next year. So the time frame for get the whole project underway is quite short. So I said, obviously we're talking about land swap. We identified about our land. He said, chain is a very contaminated. I said, yes, it is. Because there was an old building there before.
Yeah.
So we bought it from the Department of Social Welfare and Implemented. That's how we acquired the land, because we look at the south side did not enough linkage to this, so we allowed the opportunity for a roundabout when in state highway. That's how the roundabout issue comes in right from the very start. It's long time already anyway. So it's just that it keep on processing. It was in the LTP for 2025, and then and they finally will push out to 2032. And then I said, oh no, the school is operating there. There's no connection from there to the school. That's how the whole thing generated the emergency. So we had a quick discussion of who is funding what before I went away. Now I start picking it up. It did indicate we need a decision. The latest is August, but I think with that one, I can with some indication of support from the council, then I can actually move on and tidy the deal.
Okay.
Instructor.
Thank you. Aaron?
Because you brought up a government agency, just to clarify, these sections are all going on the open market. So, because some people in the area would be interested, Housing New Zealand aren't buying a whole block in here. Cool.
Actually, they gave up the blue dot to us.
Right, it was then originally, but none of it will be there. Asking a question.
Any other questions from either of you? I reckon we can just about wrap this up.
So if you want to go, do we want to look at doing another poll through Facebook with a little bit more information?
Well, it'd have to be the information that we've been given, and it would have to be non-slanted. So I think not say we're for or against. We're just, it's purely a straw man poll. And if anyone has any reasons why they're very against, or they could say very for, they might have a good reason for that too, but then they should tell us.
And this is public information now anyway.
Oh, it's a live stream, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's public now.
So I think we should say we're open to hearing. That's always open to abuse because someone who sits either side could lobby a whole lot of people, but that's their prerogative too.
Say that there is an opportunity to make the link here, and you want to know the community views on whether to take that opportunity or not.
That'd be the way to word it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's an opportunity, and it's a lot cheaper on the ratepayer, but people think a lot more locally when it comes to something that affects their neighbourhood. So,
would you be happy to maybe work with Aidan to kind of put that into some good wording that could go, that you could then flick out?
It would be good just to be able to be as transparent with the community about what's happening. It's, you know, the nature of the decision based off of the resource consents, et cetera, the pros and cons, the rating impact, just like the basic information on what the options are, without a, you know, preference A, B or C. Just saying this is what the options are, and can we try and get, because I don't think we want to do a formal consultation. Like, and a formal consultation that it doesn't actually carry any weight just confuses people. So whether it's an informal one, but we do our very best to provide the opportunity.
well, consultations carry no weight either.
You're
Even a formal
saying
one.
that it's going to be a
Because
council
people can say
decision
what
at the
they
end of
want,
the
But
day.
it puts pressure on elected members if they don't.
It certainly does.
You want a
And this one
board
would too.
thoughts included in that, and they're trying to now get the board. As
Yeah.
part of as a board, you giving your thoughts to council, you want to hear from the community.
Yeah, I think that's only fair. At least then we let them know, and they, because if they're very, very strong against, then we got to look at the reasons why, and not just be on NIMBY, but then that can be a valid thing too. I've lived in a street that's like a cul-de-sac for 10 years. We actually quite like that. I mean,
Because you don't have direct access to John's Road, do you?
me, where I am, no. I deliberately bought, well, I didn't deliberately, I only bought in a cul-de-sac because it was big land cheap. But I'd subdivide it now, but I've got no access to my backyard. I built my house.
Yeah, and if they can provide a broader scope set of, because we had no information when we did that, so. Okay, if you guys could put something together like that, as rapidly as possible and work with Aidan, then we can distribute it through our channels in an informal manner, so we don't create any kind of confusion around council consultation, et cetera,